How are you guys doing? Today is Wednesday, May 12th, 2021, out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review the Elite matchups and performances from yesterday, Tuesday, May 11th, and of course, I'm going to preview everything that goes on today as we navigate the world of sports one day at a time. Starting yesterday with the NBA because the NBA season is coming to a close. Looking out to yesterday's primetime matchups, the first one took place in Boston as the Boston Celtics hosted the defending Eastern Conference champions Miami Heat. In this matchup, the Miami Heat would beat the Boston Celtics 129-121. The big difference being the third quarter in which they outscored the Celtics by 8 points. Everything, the first, second, and fourth quarters tied up were pretty even. For the Boston Celtics in this matchup, their leading scorer was their elite starting point guard Kemba Walker. He finished with 36 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in 38 minutes as he shot 14 for 27 from the field, 4 for 11 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. Their elite starting small forward Jason Tatum would finish with 33 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists in 39 minutes as he shot 12 for 21 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Evan Fournier, would finish with 20 points, 8 assists, and 2 blocks in 36 minutes as he shot 7 for 15 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. For the Miami Heat, their leading scorer will come off the bench as their guard out of Kentucky, Tyler Hero, would finish with 24 points and 11 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 15 from the field and 4 for 7 from 3. Their elite starting center, Bam Adebayo, would finish with 22 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 35 minutes as he shot 10 for 15 from the field and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Duncan Robinson out of Michigan, would finish with 22 points in 33 minutes as he shot 6 for 10 from the field, 5 for 9 from 3, so he was 1 for 1 from inside the three-point line. And he was 5 for 6 from the foul line on the night. And then their elite starting small forward, Jimmy Butler, would finish with 13 points and 2 rebounds and 3 assists in 17 minutes as he shot 4 for 8 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the Miami Heat are now 38-31. They are now tied with the Atlanta Hawks and the New York Knicks for the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference. They are the 4th team in the East to clinch a playoff spot with this win, as they have now won their last 3 games and 7 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, alongside the Hawks and the Knicks, they sit 6 games behind the 3rd place Milwaukee Bucks, and they currently sit 3 games ahead of the 7th place Boston Celtics at the moment, as they trail the Philadelphia 76ers by 9 games in the Eastern Conference. With this loss, the Boston Celtics are now 35-34. That is the 7th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost their last 3 games and 7 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they sit 3 games behind the 4th place Miami Heat, the 5th place Atlanta Hawks, and the 6th place New York Knicks. They currently sit 2 games ahead of the 8th place Charlotte Hornets, and they currently sit 12 games behind the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers in the conference. Looking out to the other primetime game of the night, the defending NBA champs Los Angeles Lakers hosted the New York Knicks and were able to pull off a 101-99 win in overtime to pick up their 39th win of the season. For the New York Knicks, their leading scorer would be their all-star starting power forward, Julius Randle out of Kentucky. He finished with 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 5 assists in 44 minutes as he shot 11 for 26 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the line. Their point guard off the bench, former NBA MVP Derrick Rose, would finish with 27 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals in 39 minutes as he shot 10 for 22 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. For the Los Angeles Lakers, their leading scorer came off the bench as their small forward Kyle Kuzma would finish with 23 points in 33 minutes, shooting 9 for 17 from the field, 4 for 8 from 3, and making his only free throw of the night. The leading scorer out of their starters was their elite starting power forward, Anthony Davis. He finished with 20 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in 43 minutes as he shot 8 for 23 from the field and 4 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the defending champs Los Angeles Lakers are now 39-30. That is the 7th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 2 games and 4 of their last 10. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they currently sit a game behind the 5th place Portland Trailblazers and 6th place Dallas Mavericks. They currently sit 2.5 games ahead of the 8th place Golden State Warriors. in the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently sit 11 full games behind the first place Utah Jazz in the conference as a whole. With this loss, the New York Knicks are now 38-31. They are now tied with the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks for the fourth best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost 4 of their last 6 games, including this one. Tied with the Heat and the Hawks, the Knicks now sit 6 games behind the third place Milwaukee Bucks, and they sit 3 games ahead of the 7th place Boston Celtics. As it looks like with their next win, they very well could clinch a playoff spot in the Eastern Conference, as the New York Knicks currently sit 9 full games behind the 76ers in the conference. Looking at the games that weren't on prime time, jumping to Charlotte. The Charlotte Hornets hosted the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets were able to beat the Hornets 117-112 after they outscored the Hornets by 12 points in the first quarter. For the Hornets, their leading scorer would come off the bench as their point guard Devontae Graham would finish with 31 points and 5 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 10 for 19 from the field, 7 for 14 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. Their starting shooting guard Terry Rozier would finish with 21 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 41 minutes, as he shot 8 for 18 from the field, 2 for 8 from 3, and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their elite, or I guess alongside those guys, those are the prime performers for Charlotte. And then from Denver, their leading scorers would finish with 30 on the night. Their elite starting center Nikola Jokic would finish with 30 points, 11 rebounds, and 6 assists in 33 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field and 16 for 17 from the foul line. Alongside him in the starting lineup, their starting small forward Michael Porter Jr. would finish with 30 points, 6 rebounds, 2 steals, and 5 turnovers in 35 minutes, as he shot 12 for 18 from the field and 6 for 10 from 3 on the night. With this win, the Denver Nuggets are now 45-24. That is the 4th best record in the Western Conference, as they are now the 4th team in the Western Conference to secure a playoff spot. They have now won 7 of their last 10 games. In the Western Conference playoff picture, they currently sit 1 game behind the 3rd place Los Angeles Clippers, and they now sit 5 games ahead of the 5th place Portland Trail Blazers and 6th place Dallas Mavericks in the picture, as they currently trail the 1st place Utah Jazz by 5 games in the conference. With this loss, the Charlotte Hornets are now 33-36. They are now tied with the Indiana Pacers for the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference, as the Hornets have now lost their last 2 games in 6 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they currently sit 2 games behind the 7th place Boston Celtics, and alongside the Indiana Pacers, they currently sit 1 game ahead of the 10th place Washington Wizards, who are on the outside looking in. Overall, they now trail the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers by 14 total games in the Eastern Conference. Just to give a sense of where the Hornets stands with this loss. Jumping out to Detroit, the Detroit Pistons hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves were able to pull up a 119-110 win after they outscored the Pistons by 22 points in the first half. For the Pistons, their leading scorer will come off the bench, as their point guard Saben Lee would finish with 22 points, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 29 minutes. He shot 7 for 9 from the field and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. Their leading scorer out of their starters was their starting small forward, Sadiq Bey, who finished with 21 points in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 16 from the field and 5 for 8 from 3. For the Minnesota Timberwolves, their leading scorer was their elite starting center, Karl Anthony Towns. He finished with 28 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 10 for 19 from the field, 4 for 11 from 3, and 4 for 5 from the foul line on the night. Alongside him, their starting small forward, the number 1 overall pick from the 2020 NBA draft, Anthony Edwards, would finish with 22 points and 2 steals in 34 minutes. He shot 7 for 16 from the field and 6 for 9 from the foul line on the night. Then their elite starting point guard, D'Angelo Russell, would finish with 15 points, 5 rebounds, 10 assists, and 3 steals in 30 minutes, as he shot 5 for 18 from the field, 3 for 10 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line on the night. With this win, the Minnesota Timberwolves are now 22-47. That is the 3rd worst record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 2 games and 6 of their last 10. They currently sit 14.5 games behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently trail the 1st place Utah Jazz by 28 games in the conference. With this loss, the Detroit Pistons are now 20-50. That is the worst record in the Eastern Conference and the second worst. They have the second least amount of wins in the entire NBA. They have now lost their last 3 games and 8 of their last 10. They currently sit 13 and a half games behind the 8th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and they currently sit 27 and a half games behind the first place Philadelphia 76ers in the entire conference. Jumping out to Tampa, the Toronto Raptors hosted the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Clippers were able to beat the Toronto Raptors 115-96 after they went on to outscore the Raptors by 8 in the first half, and they outscored them by 11 in the second. For the Raptors in this matchup, their leading scorer was their starting power forward, Chris Boucher. He finished with 16 points and 7 rebounds in 37 minutes. He shot 5 for 15 from the field and 4 for 5 from the free throw line on the night. For the Los Angeles Clippers, their leading scorers would finish with 20 on the night. Off the bench, their shooting guard, Terrence Mann, would have 20 points in 21 minutes as he shot a perfect 7 for 7 from the field, 1 for 1 from 3, and he shot a perfect 5 for 5 from the free throw line on the night. All 12 of the shots he took went in the basket. Their leading scorer out of their starters was their goated starting small forward, Kawhi Leonard. He finished with 20 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 30 minutes as he shot 6 for 10 from the field and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. Alongside him in the starting lineup, their elite starting shooting guard, Paul George, would finish with 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, and 6 turnovers in 33 minutes as he shot 5 for 15 from the field, 2 for 9 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. With this win, the Los Angeles Clippers are now 46-23. That is the third best record in the Western Conference. That is the fourth most wins in the NBA, as they have now won 6 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 2 games behind the second-place Phoenix Suns, 1 game ahead of the fourth-place Denver Nuggets, as they have already clinched a spot in the Western Conference playoff picture, and they sit 4 full games behind the first-place Utah Jazz in the conference. With this loss, the Toronto Raptors are now 27-42. That is the 4th worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost their last 4 games in 8 of their last 10. They currently sit 6 games behind the Hornets and the Pacers outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and they currently trail the first-place Philadelphia 76ers by 20 whole games in the conference, just to give a sense of where they are. Jumping out to Indianapolis, the Pacers were able to beat the Philadelphia 76ers to get a piece of the playoff picture. The Pacers were able to beat the Sixers 103-94 by 9 points after they outscored the Sixers by 9 in the fourth quarter. But before that, they outscored the Sixers by 11 in the third to outscore the Sixers by 20 points total in the second half. For the Philadelphia 76ers, their leading scorer was their starting power forward out of Tennessee, Tobias Harris. He finished with 27 points and 5 rebounds in 34 minutes as he shot 11 for 24 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. And then their elite starting point guard, Ben Simmons, would finish with 20 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 5 turnovers in 37 minutes as he shot 9 for 16 from the field and 2 for 3 from the foul line. For the Indiana Pacers, their leading scorer was their starting shooting guard, Caris LeVert. He finished with 24 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals in 40 minutes as he shot 8 for 20 from the field and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting small forward out of Creighton, Doug McDermott, would finish with 20 points in 28 minutes as he shot 7 for 16 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. And then their all-star starting power forward, Domantas Sabonis, would finish with 16 points, 13 rebounds, and 15 assists in 40 minutes as he shot 7 for 9 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from 3. With this win, the Indiana Pacers are now 33-36. They're now tied with the Charlotte Hornets for the 8th best record in the Eastern Conference, as they now have 3 games left to play. They have won their last 2 games and 5 of their last 10. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they, alongside the Hornets, sit 2 games behind the 7th place Boston Celtics, and they currently sit 1 game ahead of the 10th place Washington Wizards, who are just outside of the playoff picture looking in. With this loss, the Philadelphia 76ers are now 47-22. That is the best record in the Eastern Conference, and they have the 3rd most wins in the NBA. Despite this loss, they've still won 8 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 2 games ahead of the 2nd place Brooklyn Nets with a comfortable playoff, or with having already clinched a playoff spot. They currently sit 14 games ahead of the 8th place Charlotte Hornets and 9th place Indiana Pacers within the playoff pictures. They already clinched a playoff spot, and they sit 27.5 games ahead of the 15th place Detroit Pistons in the Eastern Conference, to give a sense of where they are. Jumping out to Chicago, the Chicago Bulls hosted the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets would pull away with a 115-107 win after they outscored Chicago by 13 points in the first half. For the Bulls, their leading scorer would be their all-star starting shooting guard, Zach LaVine. He finished with 41 points, 41 points and 3 rebounds in 37 minutes as he shot 15 for 27 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and 5 for 7 from the foul line. Their all-star starting center, Nikola Vucevic, would finish with 12 points, 12 rebounds, and 6 assists in 36 minutes as he shot 5 for 18 from the field and 2 for 6 from 3. For the Brooklyn Nets, their leading scorer was their goated starting power forward, Kevin Durant. He finished with 21 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, and 3 blocks in 32 minutes as he shot 9 for 13 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line. Their elite starting power forward, Blake Griffin, would finish with 13 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists. As the former number 1 overall pick from Oklahoma would play 24 minutes. He shot 5 for 8 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and 1 for 2 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard, Kyrie Irving, would leave the game after he got hit in the face. He would finish with 13 points, 3 rebounds, and 5 assists in 21 minutes as he shot 4 for 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Brooklyn Nets are now 45-24. That is the second best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now won their last 2 games in 6 of their last 10. They currently sit 2 games behind the first place 76ers with a clinched playoff spot in the Eastern Conference. They currently sit 1 game ahead of the third place Milwaukee Bucks, just to give a sense of where they sit in the conference. With this loss, the Chicago Bulls are now 29-40. That is the 5th worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost 6 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 4 games behind the 8th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and they currently trail the first place Philadelphia 76ers by 18 games in the conference. Jumping out to Memphis, the Memphis Grizzlies hosted the Dallas Mavericks and were able to pull off a 133-104 win. They outscored the Dallas Mavericks by 26 points in the second half and able to get their 36th win of the season. For the Mavericks, their leading scorer would be their starting small forward, Tim Hardaway Jr. He finished with 19 points and 5 rebounds in 28 minutes as he shot 6 for 11 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. And then their elite starting point guard, Luka Doncic, would finish with 12 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5 turnovers in 26 minutes as he shot 4 for 16 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. For the Memphis Grizzlies, their leading scorer was their elite starting point guard, Moran. He finished with 24 points, 7 rebounds, and 8 assists in 29 minutes as he shot 7 for 13 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 7 for 8 from the foul line. With this win, or alongside him, their starting small forward, Dylan Brooks, would finish with 22 points, 3 steals, and 2 blocks in 33 minutes as he shot 9 for 21 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Memphis Grizzlies are now 36-33. That is the 9th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 3 games and 5 of their last 10. They currently sit half a game behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently trail the first place Utah Jazz by 14 games in the conference. With this loss, the Dallas Mavericks are now 40-29. They are tied with the Portland Trail Blazers for the 5th best record in the Western Conference, as with this loss, they've still won 7 of their last 10. In the playoff picture, they sit 5 games behind the 4th place Denver Nuggets, who have already clinched a playoff spot, and they sit 1 game ahead of the 7th place defending champs Los Angeles Lakers, as the Mavericks are trying to secure a spot outside of the NBA play-in tournament. Jumping out to Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Bucks hosted the Orlando Magic and were able to pull up a 114-102 win. The difference would come in the first half after they outscored the Magic by 11 points. For the Magic in this matchup, their leading scorer would be their starting point guard, Cole Anthony, their rookie, who finished with 18 points in 30 minutes as he shot 8 for 16 from the field on the day. For the Milwaukee Bucks, their leading scorer would be their elite starting power forward out of Greece, Giannis Antetokounmpo. He finished with 27 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 11 for 18 from the field and 5 for 8 from the foul line on the night. With this win, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 44-25. That is the 3rd best record in the Eastern Conference, as they have already clinched their division, so they already have a playoff spot. In the Eastern Conference playoff picture, they now sit a game behind the 2nd place Brooklyn Nets, and they sit 6 full games ahead of the 4th place Miami Heat, the 5th place Atlanta Hawks, and the 6th place New York Knicks, as they currently trail the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers by 3 games in the entire Eastern Conference. And with this loss, the Orlando Magic are now 21-48. They are tied with the Cleveland Cavaliers for the second worst record in the Eastern Conference, as they have now lost their last 4 games and 7 of their last 10. They currently sit 12 games behind the 8th place Charlotte Hornets outside of the Eastern Conference playoff picture, and they now trail the 1st place Philadelphia 76ers by 26 whole games in the Eastern Conference as the season's coming to a close. Jumping out to San Francisco, the Golden State Warriors hosted the Phoenix Suns, and the Warriors were able to pull up a 122-116 win after they went on to outscore the Suns by 12 points in the 4th quarter to come back from being behind 6 to being up 6 at the end of the game. For the Phoenix Suns, their leading scorer was their elite starting shooting guard out of Kentucky, Devin Booker. He finished with 34 points, 7 rebounds, and 4 assists in 39 minutes. He shot 11 for 21 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and 8 for 9 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, would finish with 24 points, 3 rebounds, and 10 assists in 33 minutes, as he shot 9 for 17 from the field, 2 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. And then their starting power forward, Jay Crowder, would finish with 20 points in 32 minutes, as he shot 6 for 10 from the field. All of his attempts came from 3, so he was 6 for 10 from 3 and 2 for 3 from the foul line on the day. For the Golden State Warriors, their leading scorer was their starting small forward, former number 1 overall pick from, I believe, the 2017 class, Andrew Wiggins. In this matchup, Andrew Wiggins would finish with 38 points and 7 rebounds in 40 minutes, as he shot 17 for 24 from the field, 2 for 6 from 3, and 2 for 3 from the foul line on the day. Their goated starting point guard, Stephen Curry, would finish with 21 points, 3 rebounds, and 6 assists in 37 minutes, as he shot 7 for 22 from the field, 1 for 11 from 3, and a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. And off the bench, their shooting guard, Jordan Poole, would finish with 20 points in 20 minutes, as he shot 6 for 10 from the field and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line on the night. With this win, the Golden State Warriors are now 37-33. That is the 8th best record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 4 games and 7 of their last 10. They currently sit 2.5 games behind the 7th place Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently sit half a game ahead of the 9th place Memphis Grizzlies, who currently sit on the outside looking in, as they trail the 1st place Utah Jazz by 13.5 games. With 2 more games left in the playoff picture, they have already clinched a spot in the play-in tournament, but of course it comes down to who are they going to play. Jumping out to Sacramento for the last game of the night, the Sacramento Kings hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Kings were able to pick up a 122-106 win. They won by 16. The big difference being in the 3rd quarter, where they outscored the Oklahoma City Thunder 41-18 by 23 points to gain this advantage and eventually get the win. For the Oklahoma City Thunder, their leading scorer was their starting small forward, who in this game was Kenrich Williams. Kenrich Williams would finish with 20 points on the night, alongside 4 steals and 2 blocks in 33 minutes, as he shot 8 for 15 from the field and 4 for 5 from 3. For the Sacramento Kings, their leading scorer came off the bench, as their guard Terrence Davis would finish with 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 2 steals in 31 minutes, as he shot 9 for 15 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the line. Their starting shooting guard out of Oklahoma, Buddy Hield, would finish with 21 points and 6 assists in 31 minutes, as he shot 8 for 15 from the field and 5 for 11 from 3. And their other starting guard, DeLon Wright, would finish with 21 points, 8 assists, and 4 steals in 33 minutes, as he shot 8 for 11 from the field and 5 for 7 from 3. With this win, the Sacramento Kings are now 31-38. They are tied with the New Orleans Pelicans for the 4th worst record in the Western Conference, as they have now won their last 2 games. They've won 7 of their last 3. They currently sit 5.5 games behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors, outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently trail the 1st place Utah Jazz by 19 games in the entire Western Conference as the season's coming to a close. With this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 21-49. That is the 2nd worst record in the Western Conference, as they have now lost their last 8 games and 9 of their last 10. They currently sit 16 games behind the 8th place Golden State Warriors outside of the Western Conference playoff picture, and they currently trail the first place Utah Jazz by 29.5 games in the conference at this very moment. That is what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups as we transition into, of course, a day of Wednesday basketball. The first primetime game will be at 7 o'clock as the Atlanta Hawks will host the Washington Wizards for a matchup where Russell Westbrook became the all-time leading triple-doubles leader. Of course, he can extend that lead today as he's averaging 22 points, 11.6 rebounds, and 11.6 assists. Following that game on ESPN, the Utah Jazz will host the Portland Trailblazers on ESPN. The Jazz currently hold the West best record. The Trailblazers hold the 5th best record, and they're tied with the Mavericks, so of course it's a must-win for them as well. And I believe that the Trailblazers are the best, along the side the Mavericks are the best team in the West that have not clinched a playoff seed yet. Outside of the primetime games at 8 o'clock, the Brooklyn Nets are going to host the San Antonio Spurs. The Cleveland Cavaliers are also going to host the Boston Celtics at the same time. At 9 o'clock, Luka Doncic and the Mavericks are going to host the New Orleans Pelicans led by Lonzo Ball. And then at 10:30, the Los Angeles Lakers, the defending champs of the NBA, are going to host the Houston Rockets, the current holders of the league's worst record. And that's right now what the NBA is looking like. Staying within the arena, but shifting the context to ice to give a sense of what the NHL is looking like as the NHL season is coming to a close. Really quickly, starting off north of the border in Canada, the Winnipeg Jets hosted the Vancouver Canucks and were able to pull off a 5-0 win as the Winnipeg right winger Wheeler would finish with 2 goals and 2 assists. With their 29th win of the season, the Winnipeg Jets now hold the 3rd best record in the North Division, and they are holding on to a playoff spot as they sit 15 points below the first place Toronto Maple Leafs. And then the only other game happened in the East Division as the Washington Capitals hosted the Boston Bruins. In this matchup, the Capitals would beat the Bruins 2-1 to pick up their 36th win of the season. With this win, the Washington Capitals now hold, like I said, they now hold the 2nd best record in the East as they now trail the Penguins as they are inching into this season. And then really quickly looking out to what's going on with today's matchups in hockey. Of course, knowing that every team has to stay within their own division. The only 2 primetime games that are going to happen out west is the San Jose Sharks host the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And at the same time, the Colorado Avalanche are going to host the Los Angeles Kings. At 5 o'clock, off primetime, the Montreal Canadiens are going to host the Edmonton Oilers as the Oilers feature Connor McDavid, the NHL's leading scorer with 102 total points on the season. At 8 o'clock, the Ottawa Senators are going to host the Toronto Maple Leafs. And then at 9 o'clock, the St. Louis Blues are going to host the Minnesota Wild. And that is what the NHL is looking like following yesterday's matchups. Jumping out to the MLB, starting off in San Francisco, the San Francisco Giants hosted the Texas Rangers and were able to pull off a 4-2 win to pick up their 22nd win of the season. For the Texas Rangers, the start and the loss would end up going to Jordan Lyles. Lyles would allow 2 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 6 batters on the day. With this loss, Jordan Lyles is 1-3 as a starting pitcher for the Rangers. The only player on the team that had more than 1 hit was their center fielder, David Dahl. David Dahl will go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 3rd home run of the season for the Rangers. For the San Francisco Giants, the start and the win would go to Logan Webb. Logan Webb would allow 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 10 batters on the day. The save would be given to Jake McGee as he picked up his 10th save of the season. He allowed no earned runs and struck out a batter in the final inning. And their batting lineup, no one on the team had more than 1 hit on the day. But regardless, this win would go to the Giants. With this win, the San Francisco Giants are now 22-14. That is the best record in the National League West, and it is tied with the Cardinals for the best record in the entire MLB as a whole. Right now in the division, they sit 2 games ahead of the 2nd place San Diego Padres. And with this loss, the Texas Rangers are now 18-20. That is the 4th best record in the American League West as they now trail the Oakland Athletics by 4.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Cleveland, the Cleveland Indians hosted the Chicago Cubs for another interleague matchup. And in this matchup, the Cleveland Indians would beat the Chicago Cubs 3-2 thanks to a 2-run 5th inning in which they were able to take over the top thanks to a 2-run home run from Cesar Hernandez. For the Chicago Cubs in this matchup, the start and the loss will go to Adbert Alzolay, who allowed 3 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 6 batters on the day. With this win, Adbert Alzolay is 1-3 as a starting pitcher for the Cubs. Their left fielder, Jock Peterson, will go 2 for 5 on the day. Their third baseman, Matt Duffy, will go 2 for 5 as well. And then their catcher, Wilson Contreras, will go 2 for 3 with an RBI on the day. For the Cleveland Indians in this matchup, the start and the win would go to their elite starting pitcher, Shane Bieber, who allowed 2 earned runs in 6.2 innings pitched. He struck out 8 batters on the day. With this win, Shane Bieber is now 4-2 as a starting pitcher on the season, and the save would be given to Emmanuel Clase. Clase would allow no earned runs in 1 innings pitches. He struck out 1 on the day. With this save, Clase now has 7 on the season, and in their batting lineup, no one on the team would have more than 1 hit. But their elite third baseman, Jose Ramirez, will go 1 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 10th home run of the season. With this win, the Cleveland Indians are now the 19-14. That is the second best record in the American League Central, as they now trail the Chicago White Sox by a game. With this loss, the Chicago Cubs are now 17-18. That is the third best record in the National League Central, as they now trail the St. Louis Cardinals by 4.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Pirates hosted the Cincinnati Reds and were able to pull up a 7-2 win as they scored 3 of their runs in the 8th inning. For the Cincinnati Reds, the start and the loss would be given to Jeff Hoffman. Jeff Hoffman would allow 3 earned runs in 4 innings pitched. He struck out 4 on the day. With this loss, Jeff Hoffman is 2-3 as a starting pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds. Their second baseman, Nick Senzel, will go 3 for 4 with a run. Their left fielder, Jesse Winker, will go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run, as Winker hit his 7th home run of the season. And their elite third baseman, Eugenio Suarez, will go 2 for 4 on the night. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, the start and the win will go to JT Brubaker. Brubaker would allow 1 earned run in 6 innings pitches. He struck out 4 on the day. With this win, JT Brubaker is now 3-2 as a starting pitcher for the Pirates. In their lineup, their second baseman, Adam Frazier, would go 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his first home run of the season. And the only other player with more than 1 hit on the team was their right fielder, Troy Stokes Jr. Troy Stokes Jr. would end up going 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and a run. With this win, the Pittsburgh Pirates are now 15-20. That is the worst record in the National League Central, as they now trail the St. Louis Cardinals by 6.5 games in the division. With this loss, the Cincinnati Reds are now 16-17. That is the 4th best record in the National League Central, as they now trail the first place St. Louis Cardinals by 4.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Washington, D.C., the Washington Nationals hosted the Philadelphia Phillies, and the Phillies kind of dominated this game from the beginning, and they were able to pick up a 6-2 win to give Chase Anderson his second win of the season. For the Washington Nationals, the start and the loss would be given to Eric Fetty. Fetty would allow 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitches. He struck out 4 batters on the day. With this loss, Eric Fetty is 2-4 on the season. In their batting lineup, the only player that had more than 1 hit was their shortstop, Trey Turner, who went 3 for 4 with an RBI and a run on the day. He hit his 8th home run of the season for the Washington Nationals in the 6th inning. For the Philadelphia Phillies, the win would be given to Chase Anderson, their starter. He allowed 2 earned runs in 5 innings pitches. He struck out 5 on the day. And then in their lineup, their hitting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit on the day was their center fielder, Odubel Herrera, who went 2 for 3 with 2 runs. With this win, or alongside him, their elite starting right fielder, Bryce Harper, would go 1 for 3 with an RBI and 2 runs as he walked twice. Like I said, that's his 7th of the season. With this win, the Philadelphia Phillies are now 19-17. That is the second best record in the National League East, as they now trail the first place New York Mets by a game in the division. With this loss, the Washington Nationals are now 13-18. That is the worst record in the National League East, as they now trail the New York Mets by 4.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Detroit, the Detroit Tigers hosted the Kansas City Royals, and they were able to pull off an 8-7 win at home, as the Royals would score all 7 of their runs in the 8th and 9th inning, but it would come down to an RBI single from Robbie Grossman to give the Tigers their 11th win of the season. For the Kansas City Royals, the start would be given to Brady Singer. Brady Singer would allow 4 earned runs in 3.1 innings pitched. He struck out 4 batters on the day. The loss would be given to their last relief pitcher, Scott Barlow. Barlow would allow 1 earned run in 0.2 innings pitched. He struck out 2 batters on the day. With this loss, Barlow is 1-1 as a relief pitcher for the Royals. Their designated hitter, Jorge Solaire, would end up going 2 for 5 with 6 RBIs and a run as he hit his 3rd home run of the season in the 8th inning. His home run in the 8th inning being a 3-run homer. And then he hit a 3-run double in the top of the 9th to actually tie up the game. Alongside him, the only other player with more than one hit was they had two more. Their left fielder, Andrew Benintendi, went 2 for 3 as he walked twice. And then their shortstop, Nicky Lopez, would go 2 for 3 with a walk as he scored twice. For the Detroit Tigers in this matchup, the start would be given to Matthew Boyd. Boyd would allow no earned runs in 6 innings pitched. He struck out 5. The win, however, would be given to their final relief pitcher, Gregory Soto. Gregory Soto would go on to allow no earned runs in the .1 inning that he pitched as he struck out 1. With this win, Soto is 3-1 as a relief pitcher. In their lineup, their left fielder, Robbie Grossman, would go 2 for 5 with 5 RBIs on the day. Their third baseman, Harold Castro, would end up going 2 for 5. Their designated hitter, Jonathan Scope, would go 2 for 5 with a run. Their shortstop, Nico Goodrum, would go 1 for 3 with 3 runs on the day. And then their center fielder, Akil Baddoo, would go 2 for 2 with an RBI and 2 runs on the day. With this win, the Detroit Tigers are now 11-24. That is the worst record in the American League Central as they now trail the Chicago White Sox by 10 games in the division. With this loss, the Kansas City Royals are now 16-18. That is the third best record in the American League Central as they now trail the Chicago White Sox by 4.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Shea Stadium, the New York Mets hosted the Baltimore Orioles and were able to pull off a 3-2 win as they scored 2 of their 3 runs in the 9th inning to come back from behind and beat the Orioles for their 17th win of the season. For the Baltimore Orioles, the start went to John Means. Means would allow no earned runs in 6 innings pitches. He struck out 3. Of course, picking up where he left off with his last with his last amazing performance. In the loss, however, would be handed to their last relief pitcher, who in this game would be Cesar Valdez. Valdez would allow 2 earned runs in .1 innings pitched as he struck out 1 batter on the day. That was his 3rd blown save of the season, and with this loss, he is now 2-1 as a relief pitcher on the season. In their in their hitting lineup, the only player that had more than 1 hit was their shortstop, Freddie Galvis, who went 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. For the New York Mets in this matchup, the start would be given to Marcus Stroman, the pitcher out of Duke. He would allow 1 earned run in 6.1 innings pitched. He struck out 5 on the day. The win, however, would be given to their last relief pitcher, Juris Familia. Familia would allow no earned runs in 1 innings pitched as he struck out 1 batter. With this win, Familia is 1-0 as a relief pitcher. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Jeff McNeil, will go 2 for 2 on the day. The only other player with more than 1 hit was their left fielder, Kevin Pillar. Kevin Pillar would end up going 2 for 4 with a run on the day. And with this win, the New York Mets are now 17-13. That is the best record in the National League East as they now sit 1 game ahead of the second-place Philadelphia Phillies. With this loss, the Baltimore Orioles are now 16-20. That is the worst record in the American League East as they now trail the Boston Red Sox by 5.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Boston, speaking of the Red Sox hosted the Oakland Athletics, and the Athletics would pick up their 22nd win of the season, evening the Red Sox in terms of the best record in the American League, as they were able to beat the Red Sox 3-2 in Fenway. Thanks to their 2-run 7th inning. But for the Boston Red Sox in this matchup, the start would be given to Nate Eovaldi. Eovaldi would allow 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched. He struck out 4 on the day. The loss would be given to their first relief pitcher, Darwinzon Hernandez. Hernandez would allow 2 earned runs in .1 innings pitched as he was unable to strike out a batter. With this loss, Hernandez is 0-2 as a relief pitcher as the Red Sox were unable to log as the only player on the team that was able to get more than 1 hit was their first baseman, Michael Chavis, who went 2 for 3 on the day. Alongside him, jumping out to Oakland, the start and the win was given to Chris Bassett. Chris Bassett would allow 2 earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 10 batters on the day. With this win, he is now 3-2 as a starting pitcher for the A's, and no one on the A's was able to log a more than 1 hit either. But regardless, with this win, the Oakland Athletics are now 22-15. That is the best record in the American League West as they now sit 2.5 games ahead of the second place Houston Astros. With this loss, the Boston Red Sox are also 22-15. They share the best record in the American League with the Athletics. They hold the best record in the American League East as they sit 2 games over the second place New York Yankees at the moment. Jumping out to Tampa Bay, the Rays hosted the New York Yankees, and the Yankees would beat the Rays 3-1, giving Jordan Montgomery his second win of the season. For the Tampa Bay Rays, the start and the loss would be given to their starting pitcher, who for the Rays in this matchup was Luis Patino. Luis Patino would allow 1 earned run in 4 innings pitched as he struck out 3 on the day. With this loss, he is now 1-1 as a starting pitcher for the Rays. Nobody on the team was able to finish with more than 1 hit, and of course, a lot of that can be tied to the New York Yankees starting pitcher, Jordan Montgomery. Montgomery would allow 1 earned run in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 9 on the day, and the save would be given to Aroldis Chapman as he struck out 1 batter in the final inning, not allowing a single run. With this save, this is Aroldis Chapman's 8th save of the season, as he has still been unable to allow a single run all season. In the batting lineup for New York, their elite right fielder Aaron Judge would end up going 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as Judge hit his 8th home run of the season. He was the only player on the team with more than 1 hit. With this win, the New York Yankees are now 19-16. That is the second best record in the American League East, as they now trail the Boston Red Sox by 2 games in the division. With this loss, the Tampa Bay Rays are now 19-18. That is the 4th best record in the American League East, as they now trail the Boston Red Sox by 3 games in the division. Jumping out to Atlanta, the Atlanta Braves hosted the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Blue Jays would beat the Braves 5-3 as they broke their tie in the 8th inning to get their 18th win of the season. For the Atlanta Braves in this matchup, the start will be given to Bryce Wilson. Bryce Wilson allowed 2 earned runs in 6 innings pitched as he struck out 5 on the day. The loss would be given to their second relief pitcher, A.J. Minter, who allowed 3 earned runs without being able to log an out. With this loss, this is 3rd blown save of the season, and A.J. Minter is now 1-1 as a relief pitcher this season. In their batting lineup, their elite right fielder, Ronald Acuna Jr., would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs as he struck out twice. He hit his 11th home run of the season, which currently leads the MLB. And then their elite left fielder, Marcell Ozuna, will go 1 for 4 with an RBI and a run as Marcell Ozuna hit his 5th home run of the season yesterday. For the Toronto Blue Jays, the start will go to Robbie Ray. Ray would allow 3 earned runs in 6 innings pitched. He struck out 10 batters on the day. The win would be given to their first relief pitcher, Trent Thornton. Trent Thornton would allow no earned runs in 1 innings pitched as he was unable to strike out a batter. But with this win, Thornton is now 1-0 as a relief pitcher this season. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Marcus Semien, would go 2 for 5 with 2 runs on the day. Their elite first baseman, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., would go 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 8th home run of the season yesterday. And the only other player with more than 1 hit was their right fielder, Teoscar Hernandez, who went 3 for 4 with an RBI on the day. With this win, the Toronto Blue Jays are now 18-16. That is the 3rd best record in the American League East, as they now trail the Boston Red Sox by 2.5 games in the division. With this loss, the Atlanta Braves are now 17-18. That is the 3rd best record in the National League East, as they now trail the New York Mets by 2.5 games in the division. Jumping out to Milwaukee, the Milwaukee Brewers hosted the St. Louis Cardinals, and after the Cardinals put up 5 runs in the 11th inning, they would pull away with a 6-1 win. For the Milwaukee Brewers in this matchup, the start will be given to Freddie Peralta. Peralta would allow no earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 8 batters. The blown save would be given to their elite relief pitcher, the reigning National League Rookie of the Year, Devin Williams. Devin Williams would allow 1 earned run in 1 inning pitch as he was unable to strike out a batter. Josh Hader would pitch an inning as he was unable to allow a run all game. The loss would be given to their 4th relief pitcher, Brad Boxberger. Boxberger would allow 4 earned runs and 5 total runs in the 1 inning that he pitched as he was only able to strike out 1 batter. In their batting lineup, their second baseman, Colton Wong, would go 2 for 4 on the day. And then the only other player with more than 1 hit was their first baseman, Travis Shaw, who went 2 for 4 with an RBI. For the St. Louis Cardinals, the start would go to Kwang Hyun Kim. Kim would allow 1 earned run in 5.1 innings pitched as he struck out 6 batters on the day. The win would be given to their closer, Alex Reyes, who allowed no earned runs in 2 innings pitched as he struck out 5 batters in those 2 innings pitched. With this win, Alex Reyes is 2-0 as a relief pitcher for St. Louis, and nobody on the team was able to log more than 1 hit, but their elite first baseman, Paul Goldschmidt, will go 1 for 5 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 6th home run of the season. With this win, the St. Louis Cardinals are now 22-14. They are now tied with the San Francisco Giants for the best record in the MLB. In the National League Central, they hold the best record as they now sit 3 games over the Milwaukee Brewers. Speaking of the Brewers, with this loss, they are now 19-17. Like I said, they are the 2nd best record in the National League Central, and they now trail the St. Louis Cardinals by 3 games in the division. Jumping out to Houston, the Houston Astros hosted the Los Angeles Angels and were able to pull up a 5-1 win after scoring 4 runs in the 8th inning, thanks to a 3-run home run from Yuli Gurriel. For the Los Angeles Angels in this matchup, the start would be given to Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani would allow 1 earned run in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 10 batters on the day. He would not get the decision, however. The decision would be given to the very first relief pitcher, Aaron Slegers. Slegers would allow 2 earned runs in .1 inning pitched as he was unable to log a single strikeout. With this loss, Slegers is now 2-1 as a relief pitcher on the season, and the only player for the Angels who logged a hit was their right fielder, Taylor Ward, who would go 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run as he had his second home run of the season yesterday. For the Houston Astros, the start and the win would be given to Lance McCullers Jr., who allowed 1 earned run in 8 innings pitched as he struck out 9 batters on the day. With this win, Lance McCullers Jr. is now 3-1 as a starting pitcher for the Astros. Their left fielder, Michael Brantley, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run. And then their right fielder, Kyle Tucker, will be the only other player with more than 1 hit. He went 2 for 3 with an RBI and a run as Tucker hit his 7th home run of the season. With this win, the Houston Astros are now 19-17. That is the second best record in the American League West as they now trail the Oakland Athletics by 2.5 games in the division. With this loss, the Los Angeles Angels are now 16-19. That is the worst record in the American League West as they now trail the Oakland Athletics by 5 full games in the division. Jumping out to Chicago, the White Sox hosted the Minnesota Twins, and the White Sox were able to pull off a 9-3 win to give Crochet his first win of the season. For the Minnesota Twins, the start will be given to Kenta Maeda, who allowed 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 3. He would not get the decision. The loss will be given to their first relief pitcher, Jorge Alcala. Alcala would allow 2 earned runs in 1 inning pitched as he was unable to strike out a batter on the day. With this loss, Alcala is now 0-1 as a relief pitcher on the season. Their elite designated hitter, Nelson Cruz, will go 2 for 5 with 2 strikeouts on the season. Their second baseman, Jorge Polanco, will go 2 for 4 with an RBI and a run as he hit his 3rd home run of the season. Their first baseman, Willians Astudillo, would end up going 2 for 4 with a run. And then their shortstop, Andrelton Simmons, would go 2 for 4 with 2 strikeouts on the day. For the Chicago White Sox, the start will be given to Dylan Cease, who allowed 3 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 7 on the day. The win would be given to their second relief pitcher, Garrett Crochet. Crochet would allow no earned runs in the .2 innings that he pitched as he struck out 1 batter on the day. With this win, he is now 1-2 as a relief pitcher. In their batting lineup, their elite shortstop, Tim Anderson, would go 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run. Their right fielder, Adam Eaton, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI. Their elite first baseman, reigning American League MVP, Jose Abreu, would go 2 for 3 with 2 RBIs and 3 runs as he hit his 7th home run of the season yesterday. Their designated hitter, Yermi Mercedes, would be the 4th player that finished with more than 1 hit as he went 2 for 3 with a run on the day. With this win, the Chicago White Sox are now 20-13. That is the best record in the American League Central as they now sit 1 game ahead of the Cleveland Indians in the division. With this loss, the Minnesota Twins are now 12-21. That is the 4th best record out of 5 in the American League Central as they now sit 8 full games behind the Chicago White Sox in the division. Jumping out to Colorado or jumping out to Denver, the Colorado Rockies hosted the San Diego Padres. The Padres would beat the Rockies 8-1 after putting up all 8 of their runs in the 5th and 6th inning combined. For the Colorado Rockies in this matchup, the start and the loss would be given to Antonio Senzatella. Senzatella would allow 4 earned runs in 5 innings pitched as he struck out 4 batters on the day. With this loss, Senzatella is 1-4 as a starting pitcher as no one on the team was able to log more than 1 hit on the day. For the San Diego Padres, the start was given to Dinelson Lamet, who allowed 1 earned runs in the 2 innings that he pitched as he struck out 1 batter. The win, however, would be given to Miguel Diaz, their first relief pitcher, who allowed no earned runs in 3 innings pitched as he struck out 1. With this win, Diaz is now 1-0 as a relief pitcher on the season. Their second baseman, Jake Cronenworth, would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs. Their elite third baseman, Manny Machado, will go 2 for 4 with 5 RBIs and 2 runs as Machado hit his 5th home run of the season. And then the only other player with more than 1 hit was their left fielder, Tommy Pham, who went 2 for 4 with a run. With this win, the San Diego Padres, are 20-16. That is the second best record in the National League West as they are the 3rd team in the National League to cross the 20-win threshold. They currently sit 2 games behind the first place San Francisco Giants in the division. And with this loss, the Colorado Rockies are now 12-23. That is the worst record in the National League West as they currently sit 9.5 games behind the first place San Francisco Giants in the division. Jumping out to Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks hosted the Miami Marlins and were able to pull off an 11-3 win after scoring 5 runs in the 5th and 8th innings each. For the Miami Marlins in this matchup, the start and the loss would be given to Pablo Lopez. Lopez would allow 6 earned runs on 4.1 innings pitched as he struck out 3 on the day. With this loss, Pablo Lopez is 0-3 as a starting pitcher for Miami. Their first baseman, Jesus Aguilar, will go 3 for 4 with 2 RBIs and a run as he hit his 8th home run of the season, the only home run of the day for the Marlins. And then their catcher, Sandy Leon, will go 2 for 4 on the day. He was the only other player with more than 1 hit on the Marlins. For the Arizona Diamondbacks, the start and the win would go to Madison Bumgarner. Bumgarner would allow no earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 9 batters on the day. With this win, Madison Bumgarner is 4-2 as a starting pitcher. Their center fielder, Pavin Smith, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs. Their catcher, Carson Kelly, would go 2 for 4 with an RBI and 2 runs for himself. Their third baseman, Adrubo Cabrera, would go 4 for 5 with 3 RBIs and a run as he hit his 4th home run of the season. The only other player that finished with more than 1 hit was their right fielder, Josh Rojas. Josh Rojas would go 2 for 4 with 2 runs on the day. With this win, the Arizona Diamondbacks are now 17-19. That is the 4th best record in the National League West as they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 5 games in the division. With this loss, the Miami Marlins are now 15-20. That is the 4th best record in the National League East as they now trail the New York Mets by 4.5 games in the division. Last but not least, jumping out to Dodger Stadium, the defending World Series champs, Los Angeles Dodgers, hosted the Seattle Mariners, and they were able to pull off a 6-4 win after scoring 5 of their runs in the 7th and 8th inning. For the Seattle Mariners, the start in this game would be given to Yusei Kikuchi. Kikuchi would allow 3 earned runs in 6.1 innings pitched as he struck out 11 on the day. The blown save and loss, however, would be given to their second relief pitcher, Rafael Montero. Montero would allow 3 earned runs in 1.1 innings pitched as he struck out 3 batters on the day. With this loss, Montero is 3-2 on the season as he now has 5 blown saves on the year. In their batting lineup, the only player with more than 1 hit was their right fielder, Mitch Haniger. Haniger will go 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs and 2 runs. He had his 9th and 10th home run of the season yesterday. For the Los Angeles Dodgers, the start went to their elite starting pitcher, Walker Buehler. He allowed 4 earned runs in 7 innings pitched as he struck out 8 on the day. The win would be given to their very first relief pitcher, who in this matchup was Garrett Cleavinger. Cleavinger would allow no earned runs in the 1 inning that he pitched as he struck out 2. The save would be given to Kenley Jansen in the final inning as he struck out 2, allowing no runs. Kenley Jansen now has 6 saves on the season. In their batting lineup, they had 2 players with more than 1 hit. Their center fielder, Chris Taylor, would go 3 for 4 with 2 runs. And then their second baseman, Gavin Lux, will go 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs as Gavin Lux hit his very first home run of the season yesterday. With this win, the defending champ Los Angeles Dodgers are now 19-17. That is the 3rd best record in the National League West as they now trail the San Francisco Giants by 3 games in the division. With this loss, the Seattle Mariners are now 18-18. That is the 3rd best record in the American League West as they now trail the first place Oakland Athletics by 3.5 games in the division. Right now, that is what the MLB is looking like following these games from yesterday, looking out to what's going on today in the world of baseball. Of course, starting off with the prime time as these series are easing into the middle of their series. Starting off at 7:20 on ESPN+, Max Fried and the Atlanta Braves are going to host Hyunjin Ryu and the Toronto Blue Jays. Outside of that game, the other games are not going to be on prime time. At 12:10, Taijuan Walker and the New York Mets are going to host Matt Harvey and the Baltimore Orioles. At 12:35, Trevor Cahill and the Pittsburgh Pirates are going to host Sonny Gray and the Cincinnati Reds. At 1:10, Sam Hedges and the Cleveland Indians are going to host Zach Davies and the Chicago Cubs. At 3:10, it'll be the first game of a doubleheader between the Colorado Rockies and the San Diego Padres. The first matchup will host John Gray and elite starting pitcher Yu Darvish for San Diego. The second matchup will host Austin Gomber of the Colorado Rockies and then Blake Snell, another elite starting pitcher for the San Diego Padres. At 7:05, John Lester and the Washington Nationals are going to host Zach Wheeler and the Philadelphia Phillies. At 7:10, Casey Mize and the Detroit Tigers are going to host Danny Duffy and the Kansas City Royals. At the same time, Colin McHugh and the Tampa Bay Rays are going to host the New York Yankees led by their elite starting pitcher, Garrett Cole. At the same time, Eduardo Rodriguez 5-0 Eduardo Rodriguez and the Boston Red Sox are going to host James Caprillion in the Oakland A's, as Caprillion looks to get his first win. At 7:40, Brandon Woodruff and the Milwaukee Brewers are going to host John Gant in the St. Louis Cardinals. At 8:10, Jose Urquidy and the Houston Astros are going to host Andrew Heaney and the Los Angeles Angels. At the same time, Dallas Keuchel and the Chicago White Sox are going to host J.A. Happ and the Minnesota Twins. At 9:40, Zach Gallen and the Arizona Diamondbacks are going to host the Miami Marlins. And then last but not least, at 10 o'clock, Julio Urias and the defending champs Los Angeles Dodgers are going to host Justin Dunn and the Seattle Mariners, just to wrap everything up. Last but not least, taking a glance of what's going on outside of North America, especially with what's going on in the world of soccer, as all of these leagues are seeing their season come to a close. Starting off in the Premier League, Leicester City was able to beat Manchester United 2-1. With this loss for Manchester United, it means Manchester City will take the Premier League title. So, of course, that was a very big development in the Premier League yesterday. And then in La Liga, Barcelona had a chance to take the top of the table, and they ended up drawing with Levante. Their first goal will come in the 25th minute from their goated Argentinian forward, Lionel Messi. But it will be an 83rd minute goal from Levante to tie the game up. And with this draw, Barcelona they are the only team sitting in second in La Liga, as they played one more game than Atletico and Real. This was their opportunity to momentarily jump on top. And possibly with a win, Real could very much pass Barcelona, but now the pressure is on Real and Atletico Madrid. Looking out to what's going on today for the Wednesday matchups, starting off in La Liga, Atletico Madrid will face off against Real Sociedad. So, of course, all the pressure is on them to retain the top of the table. Looking out in France, it's going to be the French Coupe de France semifinals, as Montpellier faces off against PSG for a chance to face off in the final. Looking down the Premier League, Chelsea's going to face off against Arsenal, as Chelsea's still trying to hold on to a Champions League spot. Chelsea holds the fourth best record in the Premier League, as they said, 6 points ahead of West Ham. A win here could I think a win here could virtually secure a Champions League spot. So this is a big win for them, as Arsenal currently holds the 9th best record in all of England. And then outside of that, in Italy, Inter Milan's going to host AS Roma, as Inter already holds the best record. They've already clinched the title. And at the same time, Sassuolo hosts Juventus at 2:45, as Juventus is holding on to the 5th best record in Serie A. And they're trying to, of course, fight their way back in. Of course, they're in a very tough position. And then AC Milan, the team that's sitting right ahead of them, they're going to face off against Torino. So that's a must-win matchup for them as well. And that's virtually everything that's going on for the world of sports that leads into today, Wednesday, May 12th, 2021. And once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I will come back tomorrow with another episode. But in the meantime, once again, today is Wednesday, May 12th, 2021 out here in this quarantine. I'm James Sims, and this is The Elite. I want to thank everyone for listening to all 57 minutes of this piece. I hope all is well, and I will catch up with you tomorrow. Peace out, and have a great day.